Well, good morning. And this is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it and be thankful for another day. We're always grateful to come to you and so grateful that you tune in to be a part of defining moments. You know, I praise the Lord for every defining moment I've had in my life, because there have been some places that life just really got hard, and you know, we could have stopped. We could have said, this is it, we're not going to do any more. We're not going to try, we're not going to fight the battle anymore, we're through. And you know, a lot of people have done that, and they're still right where they stopped. But there are a few, that chosen few, that have said, you know, I'm not going to allow my past to define me. I'm not going to allow this moment to define me for a negative thing. It's going to be positive. And God is going to do some positive things in my life because of what is happening to me right now. You know, sometimes you look at life and it's going along just fine, and boom. I gave a message about that not many months ago, that you're going along and everything's fine, and all of a sudden you're blindsided. Something happens that you didn't see it coming, and life is forever changed. And you know, back in February, we were at Fraser in Montgomery, and we were doing some prison training, because we go into the prison and minister to the women there, and are thankful for that open door and opportunity. But there were some things we had to go through, and some training we had to have to be certified. And while we were there, after the training was over, I went into the ladies' room, and I saw someone in the stall next to me. I know it's kind of plain, but that's about the only way I know how to tell it. And you know, I looked down and I noticed that the woman in the stall next to me didn't have any feet. Didn't have shoes on like my shoes. And I started looking, and I realized that she was an amputee. And the Holy Spirit just said, I would like for you to meet her, talk to her. I want her to be on this program. And so, long story short, here we are. And the Lord has connected the pieces once again and brought an amazing and incredible woman across our path. Her name is Priscilla Newton, and Priscilla is from Birmingham, Alabama. Priscilla has an incredible story. I don't want to take up a lot more of her time, but I do want to encourage you, if you're facing anything today, that you realize that Philippians is true, that you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. I look at these ladies that sit in this room with me today, and I'm almost brought to tears, because I see lives that have been transformed, lives that have been changed, lives that are only here because of the power of Christ, the work at the cross, His miracle grace, and the grace of God just being so merciful to us. And you know, I look at this and I see so many things, but one thing I do see is that God is a God of second chances. Not just second chances, but third and fourth. And you may feel like, no, I've blown it. Sister Lynn, I've blown it, and there's no more hope for me. Let me tell you something. If you're breathing, there's hope for you, and His name is Christ Jesus. And I'm going to kind of just move on out of the way and introduce my guest to you again. As I said, her name is Priscilla Newton, and Priscilla comes to us again from Birmingham, and I just appreciate so much, Priscilla, you coming today to be with us. And she's going to share her story with you. I'm not going to share the story today, and we may talk some together, but sepsis almost robbed her of her life. And we're going to have some pictures up with this program, so when this program airs, if you want to hear it again, you can go to Defining Moments Inc. Ministries Inc. page on Facebook, and this program will be there in its entirety, and there will be pictures for you to see, and it'll also be on YouTube, and you can find it there by searching for Defining Moments with Evangelist Lynn Taylor, and you can pull up Priscilla Newton's program there and see these pictures and just walk through this journey with her, as God has been just so merciful and allowed her to have a story to tell. So Priscilla, welcome to Defining Moments today. Come around and share your story of God's love and grace and mercy with our audience today.
Thank you, Lynn, for inviting me. I've looked forward to this, and I hope you will get a blessing out of it. The Lord has certainly blessed me, and I can't wait to tell you how. Back in 10, I was a normal person like you. I, had 2 legs, plenty of fingers and hands, and go out for Christmas, just have a good blast. Well, I went to a New Year's dance on the eve of December 31st to the 1st of January 11. And danced the New Year in. I square dance. And then the next day I went to my brother's and we had New Year's dinner. The next day was church. Well, went to the morning service, the evening service. Everything was just going along fine. And then about 11 o'clock, I just got real sick. Well, I was up and down all night long, not just the front end. And so, anyway, I figured I had caught the flu because, being first of the year, everybody gets sick. And so I tried to wait out. I didn't want to go to the emergency room because it's a misnomer to me. An emergency room should not be called an emergency room.
That's true.
So I didn't want to go and sit there for hours waiting on medical care. So I waited for my doctor to come in, and she was out of town, but an intern was there. And so I went and I told her my symptoms, and I thought I had the flu. And she gave me a shot so I could rest. So that afternoon I came back. After waking up and did not feel any better, I knew something was wrong. And I started breaking out in splotches all over my legs, lower part of my body, and very noticeably on my elbows. My husband said, "You better get to the hospital." And so he was on oxygen and had a PICC line and was not driving. I was in no shape to drive. My sister, bless her heart, Eunice Spitzley, she came over and picked me up, and she had taken me to the doctor earlier that day, so this was kind of a rerun. And I told her, I said, "Eunice, I don't think I'm going to be able to walk into the hospital. Do you think you could get me a wheelchair?" And I don't remember anything after that. She said that she brought the wheelchair. I got in it, went in, and talked to the people like I had sense. I said, "Really?" Well, a week later, I woke up after being put in a drug-induced coma. And, of course, I didn't know anything had happened. Mm-hmm. Well, when I woke up, my hands were clenched, and they were black. My legs had turned black, and they were weeping. I don't know if you've ever heard that term, but it's when fluid just leaks out of your pores, more or less. And so they had brought me back to let me know that I had meningococcal sepsis. I have no idea where I got it. I've come to the conclusion that it must be from a carrier of the disease, because I have not been around anyone that I remember that had any disabilities. And so it was a mystery to me. Even is it C by C?
Mm-hmm. CVC.
CVC.
D.
CDC, sorry, came down from Atlanta, so we're good friends. They couldn't figure out where I'd been either. Mm-hmm. But anyway, when I had awakened, I was in MICU, and my doctor had told me when I was conscious that I had like a 10% chance to survive. Mm. And, of course, at the time, I wasn't sure about what damage was so pertinent except for my legs. But my hands were like claws, and I finally realized that I was going to lose the tip of each finger and several tips on down, digits down. And so I ended up losing all, I've got enough for one whole hand, I guess you could say. And then, of course, my feet in my legs. I was amputated 8 inches below the knees. And I never have stood up on my own legs again since that January. And but I've had a lot of different kind of legs since then. But anyway, I spent a delightful 53 days in the hospital at St. Vincent's East. The doctors, nurses, everyone that I came in contact with were just wonderful. The rehab people, I cannot praise them enough, helping me to learn to use my hands, even with my fingers dying and crooked. And one thing, they weren't sure if I was going to have any cognitive sense, because I had a fever that went over 107. Well, you know, I didn't know anything about it. My sister and brother, they were with me the whole time at the hospital. They told me that I had given them a lot of scary moments, you know, with blood pressure levels, blood, you know, fevers. They had to put me on an ice pack once, and they had to put me on a breathing tube, and I guess I was wired up pretty good. I don't know. But, you know, you get these little glimpses back of what has happened to you, but you don't know if it's a dream or if it really did happen. And so these little bits and pieces would come back to me. But some people, when they're in a coma, can hear and understand what you're saying. I was not blessed with that. I guess it was very merciful. And but I do understand I had a lot of friends, family, my square dance family, my church family, came, and they were in and out. I don't even remember my son and his wife coming, which they did come in from Chicago, were there a week, but I did see a picture of them. But I seem to think my door at the hospital was like a revolving door. It never seemed to quit. People were in and out, nurses, doctors, family. It was something else, I tell you. Well, after I made the decision to have my legs removed, it was because there was no saving them. And if I had left them on, the gangrene would have just continued to go up my legs and, you know, kill me with my vital organs. So I made the decision. So at the end of January 2011, I had my feet removed. And of course, I was in and out all this time, and my brothers and sisters, they were the ones that were keeping notes and telling everybody what was going on. And Facebook is the new newspaper of the world.
Yes, it is.
But anyway, after I had surgery and came back to myself, I felt a little short, but that was okay. And I started exercising, eating everything in sight. I think I'm the only person that gained weight ever been in a hospital. And that's without feet. So anyway, I would do everything the rehab people would tell me to do and more, because I was excited. I was ready to turn the page and see what God had in store for me. And I tell you, I would have never picked this ministry, but I believe it's been one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And so let me tell you how the Lord has blessed me in so many ways. When I awakened from the coma, I could just feel His love, His arms totally surrounding me. And I felt peace, comfort. You know, in the Bible, they talk about peace and comfort beyond your understanding. I guess that was my moment. And so I knew everything was going to be all right, you know. And so I turned myself on over to the Lord. Take the reins, Lord. And I haven't looked back. And I'm just grateful to be here today to tell you all what the Lord has done for me.
Yes. I'm amazed at listening to Priscilla share her story. I was reading some of the things that her sister and brother documented during this time, and it takes us back to what you did prior to that day in January when your life changed forever. And it's, you know, it's amazing because you're just a normal person. You're just this fun, loving, normal lady over here, and there's so many people that would see you on the road, or, you know, see you on the street, for lack of, you know, that word, on the street, and look at you with pity, you know, and say, oh, I feel so sorry for her. She's lost both of her legs and most of her fingers. But that is the last thing you need, because you're an amazing woman.
Well, the Lord left me with just what I needed. You know, there's a difference between needs and wants. Mm. And I think in today's society, most people don't realize that. Mm-hmm. You know, the world's not there to owe you. You owe the world. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're here for, to help each other.
Mm-hmm. And so you feel like the Lord left you with just what you needed.
He has. He has provided everything I've needed, every step of the way. Doctors, nurses, medical help, mm-hmm. dear friends. I just can't enumerate everything that people have done.
It's just having lunch with you and having met you and talked with you on the phone, and to see that positive attitude and just that outlook to say the Lord has left me with just what I need, and to realize we are a world, a society that always thinks we need a little bit more.
That's the truth.
We just need a little bit more, but you're going on and you're living your life and you're giving God the glory for all this and for your second chance at life. As we were sitting and talking, one of the ladies asked about enjoying life, I believe is how she put it, and we just made the comment, when you almost lose your life, you learn to appreciate it a whole lot more.
It comes into focus much better.
I'm sure it does. And I wanted to go back to this just a little bit because of what I read that your sister had written, and you touched on it just a little bit. We have always been taught, especially raising children, that if your temperature goes over 105 up to 106, your brain is fried. But here you are on January the 8th, and I want to read this. It says, on Saturday, January 8th, infection caused Priscilla's body temperature to rise to 107.1 degrees. The staff immediately placed ice bags between her legs under each armpit and rubbed her and placed her on a machine that runs water cooled down to 40 degrees through a rubber blanket that was placed under her to lie on. This procedure brought her temperature down about 1/10 of a degree every 15 to 20 minutes until it got back into the normal range. And then it goes on to talk about what happened there. And your body is just going through this fight for your life. And for the most of it, you're not even aware of what's going on, the battle your body is in.
That's the truth.
And then you have your friends and your church family and people praying for you, I know, and people that are visiting you, and even your own child coming to see you, and you don't even know he's there, and just have to see pictures after you wake up that he's there. But and I know that the people on the radio can't see, but like I said earlier, we're going to have pictures posted to Facebook. I want to encourage you to go and to look at some of these pictures. I want to warn you, they're rather graphic, and some of them might even make you cringe. And as I saw these pictures at lunch today, I just began to weep because I had been left at the table alone, and Priscilla handed me this little album of photographs that had been taken during this time, and I wept because of what I know your body went through. But also, I have a brother, my only brother, that his body was sepsis. He has sepsis. Am I saying that correctly?
Sepsis.
Sepsis, okay. Mm-hmm. And he was admitted to the hospital on a Thursday, And by Saturday, my brother was gone. He did not make it. And I looked at those pictures, and it caused me to weep for you, but it also caused me to weep for him. And I remember them talking about what a painful experience that was for him. I couldn't be there. I'd had surgery and wasn't allowed to go and see him. But I just look at your story, and on top of all that you've been through, you now not only give back into the church, but you give back to other amputees and people that are waiting to become amputees. Tell us about that.
Yes, one of the ways I figured the Lord had blessed me was to become a peer visitor for amputees, people facing amputeeism, people that are amputees, people that have given up. Because, you know, we all need kind of a swift kick sometimes to get started in the right direction. There's too much life to live to sit in a corner, you know, put your wheelchair in a corner and put your nose there. That's not the life for me. I got too much to do. The Lord's given me too much direction.
It's given you a life.
It has really been a different kind of life. I get referrals from people from the Y. Let's see, people at church, the doctors call me, the nurses call me, rehab people call me. People on the street will stop me and speak to me. I have no idea who these people are. Even today, I had a lady come in out of the blue. I didn't know who she was. Mm-hmm. And she wanted to tell me how proud she was of me for walking on my feet.
Well, you know, when I saw you there at the church, and it goes back to seeing you in the stall next to me in the restroom, you know, I had no idea who you were or what your story was, but my heart was inspired by the fact that I think that day there was over 200 students, you know, ministers in class that day, preparing to go into the prison and to give out of our life into somebody else's life, somebody that needed a word of encouragement and hope and needed that. And not only do you say that with your mouth, but you say that with your life. You say that, and there's so many people that could take what has happened to you and, like you said, just crawl up in a corner somewhere and say life is over. What good am I like this? Well, you know, what would you say to that person? Well, what would be your encouragement to them? I can't speak for them because I'm, you know, minus the fact that I have a tip end of a finger missing, I can't even begin to compare to what you've been through. But I know that as a child, I suffered a lot of ugly remarks and things from other kids that didn't understand the pain that could cause somebody. But there's somebody listening today, and they are like that. They don't see God's purpose for their life anymore.
Well, I tell you, a lot of prayer. I believe my upbringing had brought me to this point where I could accept this. And I don't consider it a burden. I consider it a blessing. The Lord has been good to me. And, you know, life is what you make it. And the Lord put us here to live life and to live it abundantly. He didn't put us here to worry every second. He says, cast your worries on Him. He's the one that has the shoulders for it. But I would certainly tell anyone, count your blessings. You may not think you have any blessings, but you do. And they're just everywhere. And to me, the saying, no one stands taller except when they stoop to help a child, that is so very true. And especially when you're an amputee or anyone with a disability, you have so much you can give people for the experience you've been through, for the experience you're going to go through. And it helps to have people you can talk to that are your peers. It's just been a blessing to me. And I appreciate every moment. Anyone I can help, the Lord is good.
Amen. Well, if someone wanted to connect with you, how could they? Will you give that information?
Sure.
And let them know, because there may be somebody saying, you know, that's easy, but I don't have anybody to talk to.
Oh, yes. The Amputee Coalition, which is a big office, it's the place for all amputees to go to get information, to help them, resources, just unreal. And I do want to tell you about my first trip there, but it's going to have to be in another segment.
Well, we definitely are going to get you back in here for another segment. Don't worry about that. And I'm just, again, it's such a blessing to see somebody that has had a defining moment and had such an awesome outcome with it. Because you could be that woman that was in the corner. You could be that woman that says, I'm not going to square dance anymore. I'm not going to do anything anymore. And it was kind of a joke coming over from the restaurant to the station that you told me I could ride with you if I wasn't afraid. Well, I wasn't afraid. I needed my own vehicle after we were finished with the program today. But I have just thoroughly been blessed. And, you know, I'm expecting to see you write a book. I'm expecting to see you come out with your story. If it's just a little pamphlet of a story of just giving your testimony and praise to God for what He has done in your life. And, you know, I can't help but to say, you know, it's just a miracle to me to see you here doing so well and doing so wonderful and pouring your life into other people's lives. I thank you for coming today and pouring this portion of your story into our life. So, you know, if you didn't catch all of this today, I want to encourage you, go to Facebook, search for Defining Moments Ministries Inc. page on there, and her story will be there. This part 1 will be there this week, and next week we're going to have her back for a part 2, and we're going to have her come back and share some more with us. And if you know somebody that's got a disability, somebody that's handicapped, somebody that's struggling with maybe having just become an amputee or they are about to, I encourage you to pull this program up and get them to listen to what she has shared today, because she has truly shared from her heart. And I love the fact that she gives the Lord all the glory for everything that He's done. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this beautiful lady missing both of her legs, most of her fingers, but yet she says, God left me with just what I needed. What an incredible inspiration. So thank you again, Priscilla, for being with us. And out of everything you've heard us say here today, remember this: when you realize just how much Jesus Christ loves you and you surrender your heart and your life to Him, then you will experience your greatest defining moment.